Why did they cast Anya Chalotra instead of someone like Eva Green? And what happened to Jaskier's hat and Triss's red hair? And how come the Witcher's distinctive beard and two-sword combo didn't make the leap from the games to TV? Hi, I'm Peter, and I'm excited to be back here on OSSA Movies to discuss all the differences between the characters from the Witcher games and Netflix's new season. And believe me, things are going to get intensely nerdy. So, let's begin with one of our favourites, Jaskier, aka Dandelion. Just in case some of you missed it, Jaskier's character was called Dandelion in the games. Yes, really. And the reason for the difference is down to an issue with the translation. Translated directly from Polish, the word Jaskier actually means buttercup, which according to the botanists over at CD Projekt Red, they didn't feel was a good fit for the bard's personality. In their opinion, a dandelion was a much better flower that encapsulated who the bard really is, which is why they changed the name. Anyway, what's Dandelion like as a game character? Well, he's a loyal friend of Geralt, always optimistic about everything, and, much like many other characters from The Witcher, a serial womanizer. Despite the fact that he can be selfish sometimes, Dandelion is truly one of the most empathetic and reliable guys in the whole of Sapkowski's universe. And hey, he even risked his life in order to save Ciri. So, what about Netflix's Dandelion? What about Jaskier? Well, some of you may remember that the casting of Joey Batey was a huge worry for Witcher fans. People were concerned about one of their favourite characters, and there were plenty who complained prematurely about Netflix's choice. But as soon as Joey Batey's Jaskier appeared on our screens, it was obvious that he had nailed the character. Loud, eccentric, funny, and rakish, Joey Batey found his own style of recreating the character of Jaskier. Though there are several differences between Dandelion from Wild Hunt and Netflix's Jaskier. Slight differences, I would say. Well, number one, and the most obvious one, Jaskier has no hat in the series. But why? Well, showrunner Schmidt Hissrich answered this clearly. Ah yes, the hat. It was made. We tried it on Joey, and we couldn't stop laughing. Will we try again? Well, sure. Nothing is impossible. So there's still hope that the hat will turn up for season 2, right? Well, the second difference is regarding Jaskier's temper, which is less obvious and kind of a subjective thing, you could say. We here at Awesome think that Dandelion is a little bit funky and foolish, while Jaskier is a bit more boorish by comparison.
Toss a coin to your Witcher, oh valley of penis, oh god.
Yep, those kinds of jokes are far more typical of Netflix's Jaskier than Dandelion. Still, what's important is that the main spirit of the iconic bard has remained the same across both the games and the series, which isn't something that can be said of some other characters on our list. But more on that later. Moving on. Yennefer of Vengerberg. First of all, Yennefer only turns up in the Wild Hunt. And for some reason, the game developers decided to change her appearance from how Andrzej Sapkowski envisioned the sorceress in his books. While we would say that Yennefer's character is a bit closer to the version we see in the Wild Hunt, Netflix actually seems to have blended both the books and the games. Owing to the massive popularity of the Wild Hunt, Yennefer's look from the games is instantly recognizable, and you might have expected someone like Eva Green would be hired to play her, or perhaps even Jessica Chastain. However, the showrunners decided to instead hire a British actress of Indian descent. And this choice might seem odd at first, considering how the game's Yennefer is tall, pale, and has very sharp features, which isn't something that could be said about Chalotra. The only obvious similarity would be the voices of both Anya Chalotra and Denise Gough, in that they both sound distinctly British. So why did the showrunners take a chance on an aspiring and as yet unproven actress like Anya Chalotra? The answer is in the complexity of the role of the sorceress, coupled with the desire of the showrunners to hire as many new faces as possible. Taking this into account, Netflix understood that they should look for a strong and talented actress first of all, before even considering her looks. And, without a shadow of a doubt, Anya Chalotra provided some of the best acting on the whole show. Pay attention to every scene she appears in, and you'll notice that Chalotra gives the series a truly cinematic level of acting, elevating the general level of performance of the show as a whole. I mean, don't get me wrong, all the other actors are great, but while you're watching The Witcher, you can always kind of tell that this is a TV show and not a movie. Anya Chalotra's performance truly transcends the medium though, giving the character of Yennefer gravitas and weight. And talking about Yennefer in terms of character development, the game and the series approach this very differently. In the Wild Hunt, Yennefer and Geralt are bound together by the wish, which is why they hunted Jinn, which made them fall in love. After finishing the game's quest, as the Witcher, you have an option: to continue your relationship with Yennefer, or to unceremoniously dump her. That's probably about as much complexity as the Wild Hunt offers about the relationship between the sorceress and the Witcher, but the same can't be said about the Netflix series. It's obvious that the Geralt of the show already has serious feelings for Yennefer, much as she does for him. And you can see that they both mean something to each other. The Jinn wasn't the primary motivation, but rather amplifies their pre-existing feelings to some degree. Now, let's move on to another female character, Triss Merigold. Triss was a minor character in the books, and most probably only turned up in the TV series because her role was largely expanded in the games as, unlike Yennefer, Triss actually appeared in all 3 Witcher games. And everything you know about Triss's looks probably comes from the games too. Ginger hair, pale skin, green eyes all give her that iconic look. However, none of these are actually present in the Netflix series. And the same goes for a very close relationship with Geralt. For those of you who haven't played any of the Witcher games, it may shock you to find out that Triss Merigold is actually Geralt's lover and a close friend from the very beginning. She's like a trademark of all the games. Owing to this, Anya Chalotra is likely considered to be the most miscast actress in the whole series, and even though she did a great job on the show, this has caused some serious indignation from the fans, which is pretty unfair if you think about it. So don't be too hard on Anya Chalotra, I mean, she's just doing her job. Meanwhile, some of the fans of the books may not be so comfortable with the idea of Triss becoming a major character in the games, and could argue that it wasn't appropriate for CD Projekt Red to make so many changes to Triss as a character. But at the end of the day, it's all about entertainment and developing a memorable character, right? And hey, don't forget that the books, games, and series are forging their own paths using Sapkowski's universe as a guide. What works for one medium doesn't always work in another, and each adaptation is right to bring something new to the table. And before we get to the main character of the series, we couldn't forget about his adopted daughter, Ciri. Ciri is probably the character with the most similarities between both the games and the series. Freya Allan seems to be a perfect match for the description of the character from Sapkowski's books, as well as the video games. A slender girl who's known to be a badass, with ashen grey hair, green eyes, and pale skin. But when it comes to talking about Ciri as a badass, this only extends as far as the games. In the TV series, Ciri didn't yet get the chance to get more deeply involved in all the adventures and tragedies that will make her brazen and dangerous. She also hasn't received her distinctive facial scar yet. Some critics said that Ciri is the most sheltered and undeveloped character in the Netflix show, and that she was expected to have a much bigger role. But I can't really agree, I mean, it's only the first season after all. They can't perfectly build up a bunch of complicated characters in only 8 episodes. Give Netflix more time and I'm pretty sure we'll all be richly rewarded. Geralt of Rivia. Firstly, let's talk about the visual differences between the games and Cavill's Witcher. About Geralt's beard, eyes, and swords. I mean, the most obvious one is the beard. We see it in the Wild Hunt, but for some reason, it's absent from the entire Netflix series. Admit it, The Witcher's look almost feels like it's set in stone after the last game came out. Of course, you could always shave Geralt's beard if you didn't like it, but that would need you to go to a barber, and it will eventually grow back sometime after that. So, whether you want it or not, the beard always wins. So the question is, why doesn't Henry Cavill have his own facial hair in the series? Well, this decision was most likely made in order to match references to the novels. Because in the books, Geralt didn't have a beard either, right? Or maybe a beard just simply doesn't suit Henry Cavill.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Well, I stand corrected. The same goes for the Witcher's famous golden cat eyes that we only saw in the games. But this detail would probably be a bit too distracting for a TV character. Having to follow a main character with yellow eyes for 8 hours at a time might have gotten pretty weird, I'll admit. Another obvious difference that comes to mind is Geralt's swords. Remember how Geralt looks in the games? He has 2 swords strapped across his back. But for some reason in the series they chose to have only one. This seemingly minor change actually sparked a surprising amount of angry comments on the internet before the show was even released. Later, it was revealed that the second sword is carried by the Witcher's horse, Roach, which kind of mitigated the whole situation a little bit, but still, some feel that the iconic look of Geralt from the games was harmed by this change. But isn't it to be expected that movies and TV series will change how they adapt the sources they use? Especially if the true original source would be the books, where Geralt doesn't have the beard or those 2 swords behind his back. Well, what do you think? Should Netflix have stuck to using the game as the primary source for that adaptation? Or cleaved closer to the books? Let us know in the comments. Generally speaking, the Netflix series developed their Witcher in pretty much the same way as the games. Sure, there are some slight distinctions in the character's appearance that we've already mentioned, but what about Geralt's character development? Was he developed as meticulously and with the same complexity as in the games? Well, we'd have to say that yes, he definitely was. And Henry Cavill had a big role in that character development, especially when it comes to working on that famous deep and husky voice. So let's give credit to both Henry Cavill and Doug Cockle when it came to a terrific job creating those super recognizable, iconic voices. And let's toss a coin to the talented actors by rewatching, replaying, and rereading the series, games, and books. Thanks for watching, folks. Let us know what you think about how the characters of The Witcher have been adapted and changed over the years in the comments below. And, as always, thanks for staying awesome.